We will see. Personally, my own view is that Theresa May is going to lose the vote on Tuesday. I should say that when she came back, she made a series of extraordinary speeches, one to the House of Commons, one to the British people, in which she blamed MPs, British MPs, for the crisis, refused to take any responsibility herself, said that Parliament was acting contrary to the will of the people, and implied that the will of the people is to support her deal. Now, that has lost her enormous support in Parliament. Everybody was infuriated by that speech, and it has hardened the likelihood that her deal will be voted down on Tuesday, because it seems that many people who were edging towards accepting the deal have now been made so angry by that speech that they're going to vote against it. So I think what's going to happen is that Theresa May's deal will be voted down for a third time on Tuesday, assuming that vote happens at all, at which point I think that the whole idea of indicative votes, the ideas of floating various proposals, is going to be so unpopular and so unreal with so many people that there will be a concerted move within the British cabinet and the British Conservative Party finally to get Theresa May, who everybody now acknowledges is the primary author of this disaster, to go. I have to say, she should have been told to go months ago, at least in December, perhaps even sooner. Better late than never.
Yeah, better late than never, but she's done so much damage.
She's done.
It was a dereliction of duty. The Conservative Party should have ousted. They should have gotten rid of her.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to also say that in this situation of crisis that we have now, and we really do have a crisis now, I am inclined to think that with Macron taking the very hard line that he is taking now, the only real way of stopping a no-deal Brexit is not revoking Brexit, revoking Article 50, which I think is a crazy idea, which isn't going to happen. Or I don't think it's even holding a second referendum, agreeing to hold a second referendum. I think it is a general election. And I think that is a real possibility. In other words, Theresa May be out next week, the government may fall, and another election might be called, with the British coming back to the Europeans and saying, we're going to hold this election sometime in April or May. Can you please give us a little more time until it's out of the way? In other words, a little more time until the 22nd of May. It's by no means certain by now that the Europeans will even agree to that.
Yeah, but what do they gain by that? I mean, okay, I agree. There's no confidence in the Prime Minister anymore. No. I think a proper route would be an election, because the Conservative Party, they also screwed up. They should have taken responsibility and gotten rid of Theresa May. The speech that she gave showed what a poor leader she is. I mean, just pure cowardice. What a poor leader. What a despicable person she is when I saw that speech. But the Conservative Party should have taken responsibility and shown leadership and gotten her the hell out. But what do they gain as far as Brexit is concerned with an election? I mean, I see two unrelated things here. An election, yes, to put the country in order as it leaves the EU, and it's leaving the EU.
Yes. Right. Well, I'm going to say straight away, I'm not, if you want my own opinion, I think it is highly likely we will see a general election called next week with the government falling. I think it is highly likely that whichever Prime Minister holds the ring in the meantime, and it can't be Theresa May, will ask the EU for a further extension. And I think it is overwhelmingly likely in that case. I think it is almost a certainty that Macron, who is now in effective control, is going to say no, because he's going to say to the you cannot hold an election before the 12th of April. 12th of April is the day that the EU Council has said you must leave by. The reason we chose the 12th of April is because the 12th of April is the day when you are required to tell the European authorities whether you are going to be participating in the European Parliament in elections in May or not. We are not prepared to see the European parliamentary elections disrupted by a Britain which is going through a general election and therefore by definition cannot decide whether it wishes to participate in the European Parliament elections or not. The important point to remember is that if Britain commits to participating in the European Parliament elections, it would have to ask for a long EU extension, a long Brexit extension of at least a year. And that is not something that the British have proposed up till now, and which during a general election, no one would have the authority speaking on behalf of Britain to ask for.
They can't organize an election by the 12th, logistically.
No, it's impossible.
That should be out of the question. But should they have an election either way after the 12th, irregardless of Brexit?
You see, this is the point. This is the point I think we need to make clear. I don't think they can do anything before the 12th of April. They can't organise any. They can't organise a second referendum before the 12th of April. It's all very well talking about revoking Article 50, but revoking Article 50 requires legislation. There is a very complex legislative procedure that has to be followed. It has to go through the House of Commons. It has to go through the House of Lords. It's very difficult to see how that can be done in such a short time. I mean, they would have to cut corners, and I don't personally think it's possible. So I don't think anything can happen before the 12th of April. So if Theresa May's deal is voted down on Tuesday, and if that vote doesn't happen for the procedural reasons we've discussed, because the Speaker won't allow it and the House of Commons won't overrule him, then I have to say the most likely outcome is a no-deal Brexit on the 12th of April. Macron is apparently putting the chances of that happening at 95%.